Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So if you're not aware, hypnotherapy can really make a difference in healing you, making you feel better, move your life forward in many different ways, remove beliefs that you may have that you're not even aware of that's holding you back from certain things. How do I know? I've done it. I've done it before, and I did it last night with her. Nothing like I've ever experienced before. Wow, impactful. She is Raquel Williams, and she is back with us. Welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, Steve. Thank you. I'm well.
Yeah, I think I am too.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah. So I had a session with you last night. We can dissect and go into detail, but essentially it was me going back to my childhood, looking at some things that we both believed were limiting me. And the interesting thing was you listened to me talk just in general about what's going on, what's up. And then you decided, accurately so, what needed to be worked on. So it was almost like you were driving the car, I'm the passenger. I'm just kicking back, doing whatever I need to do. And we went back in terms of time within hypnotherapy. The way it worked for me, is that typically how it works for people?
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, a lot of times either people don't know really where they should start, or they think they know. But in the conversation of kind of the pre-session, I would call it, I'm asking very specific questions because I'm looking for what is it really that this person needs right now. And as you kind of saw in our conversation last night, I was asking you questions. I was going into your childhood. I was going into kind of your past and looking for, wait, I haven't heard it yet. But the moment I hear it, then I'm like, okay, got it.
Yep. And that's kind of what happened. You heard a couple of key words.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want to say red flags. I was just talking. You know, here's what's going on. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to get to what you did before we got into the hypnotherapy session, but while we're on the session, let's go there.
Okay.
So really, it was like watching a movie of me when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it wasn't visuals that I've never seen before. You know, I might have seen them in a dream, or when I back in the day used to think back to certain situations. But there were one in particular that came back that I kind of buried. I didn't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that came back, and that was very clear. And how that had an issue or a bearing on, you know, what I deal with today. And I don't think I'm unlike anybody else, right? People, this is what we deal with, right?
No, not at all. And as a matter of fact, Steve, a lot of times, some of the things that come up, we are aware of it, or we do know that it happens. Sometimes you don't, but a lot of times you do. But when we go in, I'm asking your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind, it knows all the answers. So when I'm asking for a very specific thing, your mind is going to show us the event that caused that belief.
Yep.
So even if it's something like, yeah, I do remember that, where people don't connect the dots is they don't realize that that specific event is what created a belief system.
And I have to tell you, and I didn't tell you last night, that I was wondering if you'd be able to hypnotize me. I feel I'm easy to be hypnotized. However, I was in my car, my phone was on my on my steering wheel. You know, not the most conducive location for relaxation and just, you know, blocking it all out. But
that was a first for me, by the way.
Was it really?
Yeah, the whole car thing. Yeah.
And as I'm, I guess, going under hypnosis, I was like, I wonder if this is happening. And then I was like, yeah, all right. It was so subtle. I almost didn't know that I was connected to or you were connected to my subconscious. I guess I was. You're just, you know, kind of leading the way.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what it is. Sometimes too, people get a little scared, like, well, I don't know if I want to be hypnotized. They kind of have this weird idea about what it is.
Yeah.
But as you saw, it's just a really relaxed state. It's where we put the chatty part of the brain to sleep, but you're fully aware. You're conscious. You knew what was going on. You could hear everything around you, but we're just accessing the part of your subconscious. And what's asleep is your nervous system and that chatty part of the brain so that we can access it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I could have just said, I'm done. Don't want to do it anymore in a heartbeat. And actually at the end, where we were kind of wrapping it up, but lack of a better description, I would say sealing the deal in terms of making those beliefs go away. I feel I started drifting out of that state. But for anybody that's afraid to be in it, I wanted to be back in it because I wanted I wanted it to work. And I feel absolutely it did. But I wavered just a tiny bit there toward the end. And I just think, conditions in the car, I'll tell you, my phone is on my steering wheel and then somebody, and my eyes are closed, but it got bright for a second. I'm like, oh, somebody's texting me. That's what that was, when the screen pops up.
Yeah.
And that, a little bit that might have distracted me, most important thing is getting a comfortable spot. Like this would have been fine. But it worked. It totally worked. What was your overall feeling about the way you felt it went?
I thought it went well. It was a typical session. I mean, I do agree that because you were in the car and there were other distractions and it wasn't just a quiet, private place that you could relax, that did have a little bit of an impact, especially towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think you had a great session. I feel like we got to what it is we wanted to get to. I feel that like it became clear to you and we were able to tell your brain kind of the truth about that situation so you could let it go.
And things came up. I will say when I was hypnotized before we met, year and a half ago, whatever, some of the same stuff came up, but additional stuff came up. And I told somebody today, when you do what you do it. I don't want to say deeper because I don't want people to think that it's deeper hypnosis. No, you make sure that you clear stuff out where, last time I did it, it was fine. Let's just say if on a scale of 1 to 10, I think in terms of cleaning things out, probably was last time a 6, where I'm at a 9 now in doing it with you.
Nice.
So,
yeah. It's one of the things I really love about this particular technique. And some of the other tools I kind of throw in it. I think it's really important that someone just doesn't gain clarity, but that we actually heal that part. Like there's inner child work, right? So we have to go in and we have to deal with that child. We have to remove the belief. I call it coming full circle. So I don't just want people to know, why do I feel this way? Or why do I behave this way? Or, why do I do the things I do? That's one piece, and clarity definitely unlocks everything. But I really believe you got to bring someone full circle, and they have to end up where they feel lighter and they feel better about it. And it's that energy has literally been removed. Otherwise, you just went back and saw what it was. And I don't think that that's sufficient.
No, it's like the difference between watching a TV show and being immersed in it and learning from it and telling people about it. And the latter is what I experience. And talking about feeling lighter, I'm like real chill today. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
Yes, very much so.
And even my schedule was a little challenging a little while ago. And I was like, yeah, it's good. No problem. Everything worked out. No problem. What did you do before we started the session? I know it was a form of energy work. Can you tell us what that was?
Yeah. Well, when you were talking to me, I was really sensing that there were some things in your past that still had a lot of energy tied to it. And I can feel the emotion tied to it. And one thing I know about the whole RTT process is that sometimes if you've got a lot of emotion going on about something, it's harder to connect. it's harder to get yourself to go there because you kind of shut yourself down. You have so much going on inside of you. So because I sensed that from you, I wanted to help your body just release some of those stuck emotions and just really help open you up. And hopefully, I mean, today I think you're feeling kind of calm. It's because your nervous system, when you can release that energy, your nervous system can relax more. So you do feel more relaxed. You don't feel so on edge, right? So I'm glad that you're feeling that. But yeah, I was able to just kind of tap into your subconscious mind and get a sense of what emotions were trapped around this particular experience or incident in your life. And then we, one by one, just figured out, okay, what is the emotion that's tied to this experience? And I think maybe there were 10 or so emotions that we found tied to that incident. And then just helping your body, which I can do remotely, which is very cool because it's energy, right?
Yeah.
So just helping your body let it go and release it. So, and I wasn't planning on doing that, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. You
yeah.
were like, hold on, we're going to do something before we get started. And you even said that. And I'm like, okay, I'm sitting here. I got nothing else to do. I'm not driving. Are you tapping into the subconscious or somebody's energy when you did what you did before the hypnosis?
I honestly believe that I am tapping into your subconscious, but I'm also being spirit led. And that's just real. I am tapping in, but I'm also being led. And it's just this intuitive, like allowing myself to really feel where we need to go. And so it's a combination.
What's the difference between what you did and, let's say, Reiki or chakra balancing?
I'm not all that, the chakra balancing. Okay. Let me, Reiki, I'm very familiar with. I have a very good friend that does it and she's amazing. The difference, I think, is like, I even work on her and she works on me. We, we help each other. But when I work on her, I'm able to really single in on a specific thing. So whether it's an emotional event or something going on in her body, we're able to tap in right to that thing. And with Reiki, it's like, she doesn't really know what she is. She's setting an intention, but she doesn't really know. It's kind of like she's being led to whatever it is that maybe I need in that moment. But with what I do, I can say, hey, let's work on this. She can tell me I'm not sleeping or I'm feeling stressed about this or my knee's been bugging me. I don't know what's going on there. And I can go, okay, let's see if there's something in your knee that needs to be released, or let's see what's happening here. So we can be very specific. I think that's the difference.
Yeah. And it's been said, Reiki, somebody does Reiki on you, the energy goes where it needs to go.
Yeah.
Where you're telling it where to go, or you're focusing where it's going to go.
Yes.
Do you feel that you're intuitive?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have been for a very long time. I didn't realize I would use it in this way. So it's interesting how I feel like life kind of prepares us for things in advance. And then when I ended up doing this work, that intuition, that guidance ended up being a very big part of this.
Yeah. Because I could see right away when you were doing, what were you doing? What do we call that?
So the first part was originally, the concept was created by, I think his name is Bradley Nelson, and it's the emotion code.
Okay, that's okay. You had said that, and I didn't know I didn't know if there was a name for what you were doing.
That's where I learned it. Okay. I kind of feel like I take that and I'm led above and beyond it, if that makes sense. So like I had someone I worked on the other day, and there were some real deep issues within his physical body we were working with. And I got some information based on the emotion code and the body code, but all of a sudden I got all this insight, and I was able to tell this person why, where, when, like it all just came. And, the person's sitting there crying because it all was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that that's what was happening here. So yes, I do use that. And I'm so grateful for it because it's an amazing tool. But then it's also intuition and being led that kind of opens it up for me, I feel like.
Have you had a good number of aha moments with working with clients, where they say, I never even realized, that thing back there when I was a kid is why I'm this way now? Does that happen a lot?
All the time.
Hmm.
All the time. Steve, the thing is that we all go through experiences. And I was telling my husband this the other day. I said, what's interesting is that we learn to make pain normal. Okay. Whether it's a physical pain or an emotional pain, we suck it up. Oh, we just say, oh, I'm getting older, or it says we give ourselves excuses as to why we feel a certain way, whether it's
Sure.
emotionally or physically, right?
Well, you know what it is? It's like, I learned to live with it. Everybody always says, my knee is horrible. It's like, oh, I learned to live with it.
Yeah. Yeah. We all do that. Right. And what this has taught me, and I'm fascinated by it, but what it has taught me is that pain isn't normal. And you don't have to live with it, and you don't have to suck it up. And there's a reason. So when we go back and we find that reason, people are always like, oh my goodness, I did not realize that this is what was happening to me. I didn't realize this is why I'm not sleeping. I didn't realize this is why my back has hurt me for years. I didn't yes, huge revelations every single time. It's very neat.
And even, we go back a couple episodes, I believe it was, where you revealed that you didn't sleep properly or barely slept for like 12, 13 years.
Yes.
Went to doctors, specialists, all of it, lab tests, blah, 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 all of that. Yep. Nobody figured out what it was until, you figured out what it was.
Yes. And you know what? I look at it now, and I never thought I would say this back then, but I am so grateful for getting my butt kicked for 12 years. So grateful, because it's led me to what I know today. And it's led me to be able to do what I do today. And I now realize that those 12 years were used in my life to develop who I am and what I'm doing today. Yeah. So I can only be grateful.
Yeah. I gotcha. And we need to look at things that way. Some of us have gone through very horrific things, and maybe there's not a reason for what you're doing today or how it translates. Maybe there is. Maybe you might even need hypnotherapy to figure out, what you're doing today based on what you might have gone through. But then again, it could be the most benign situation, just a nothing situation as a kid. You heard something, and it has messed you up.
Because how a child processes something they heard, saw, or felt is very different than how an adult would process that. And I do want to make a comment about what you just said. Sometimes we go through horrific things, and I went through some horrific things as a child. And I never thought I'd get to the point where I'd say, wow, had it not been for that, not that I'm glad it happened. I am not saying that. I'm just saying, because of it, I have learned that stuck emotions and emotional pain, like shock and trauma and physical shock, are all real energies. Okay. And what I have learned because of what I went through is that there are layers of that inside of us. And so you could literally have, let's say, the two emotions, let's say it's shock and it's unworthiness. I'm going to put two emotions out there, right? Mm-hmm. You'll find with people a pattern, as I did with myself. And those emotions, you will find them in women. You're going to find them in your ovaries. You're going to find them in your mammary glands. You're going to find them like all the female parts. In men, you're going to find it in the prostate, in the testicles. I mean, it's so fascinating. But, when we're dealing with, cancers in these areas for men and women, I'm really seeing and learning that there's so much there that is stuck. And when it comes to trauma with myself, I learned that there were so many layers that I had to remove. And then that next layer could come up. And then that next layer it was almost like I couldn't even get to the bottom until I cleared some of the stuff on top. Wow. So now that I know that, because I've experienced it, I know what to look for. And I don't just go, okay, yeah, you're good. You're clear. You're done. No, we go back and we check. And then we do it again. And I ask, okay, how many weeks is it going to take of clearing? And I'm able to know how long I have to work with somebody, because I know because of what happened with me, that it's not a one and done. There's layers when you're dealing with that kind of trauma or emotion.
And this isn't a sales pitch. It is what it is. Some of it goes deep. Some of it goes deep, or we internalize things a certain way. Again, it could have been that passing comment. You passed by the kitchen as a 5-year-old and heard a comment, wasn't even for you, but you internalized it and it went deep. And now another situation came up and it went deeper and it went. It's almost as if when the situations come up and you react to it based on that one 5-year-old internalization of the comment, it's almost as if it's going deeper and deeper.
It solidifies the belief.
Right.
So with every experience, it solidifies it. So it's almost like cement that just impacts it until you're an adult and you've got years of this hardened belief in you about something that you heard your parents say.
Or the seed. The seed was you passing by the kitchen, and now, next thing came up maybe a month later, a little root grew. 5 years later, more roots until you're an adult. And now you've got, deep roots that need to be pulled up. And if you're gardening and you start pulling a plant up, a weed or whatever it might be, you don't get the root. You get a little piece of it. And then you got to get a shovel and dig it if you really want to get it out and make sure it doesn't come back. It takes time. Got to keep going. Layers. Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
What do you feel is one of, let's call it the top 3 emotions or situations that people deal with or you come across?
Yeah, that one's simple. Unworthy and not enough.
Yeah.
It is amazing to me how that one is just like across the board. Unworthy, worthless, not enough. Those energies are across the board.
And it's in my research studying, I like to look at things. Big right now is imposter syndrome for people at work, where they feel that I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't think I should be doing this job. And meanwhile, if you weren't doing a good job, they kick your butt out.
Yep.
You're doing okay by their view. Maybe you could get the responsibilities a little bit better, maybe pivot a little bit, maybe something that's more connected to, who you are. But I think that comes down to not enough. Like, I'm not enough for this job. I shouldn't be doing it, but that's just a false belief.
And I see that a lot too. And imposter syndrome, you could be amazing at what you do, like you just said, but you'll cap yourself. You'll cap yourself because at the core, you don't really believe you should even be there.
Right. Yeah. You don't even give yourself some grace or latitude because you've already shut yourself off. I'm not good enough. I shouldn't be doing this. I just talked to somebody who started a job the other day, like barely a week, still in training. And that's what I heard. I shouldn't be doing this. I can't get this. I'm like, you've been doing this for decades. It's a different system. It's a new approach to it. And they get it. It's going to take time for you to learn it. It's okay. Just, ride it. And if it's, 2-3 months out and you're not producing as they wish, then all right, then something to look at. But you got hired for a reason.
Yeah.
In the end.
Yeah. That's something that happens a lot, Steve.
Yeah.
I hear it a lot. I talk to people about that a lot. That's also something. And it all comes from just a rooted insecurity or belief that they have about themselves that they don't realize is there, because it's not consciously that they're saying, I shouldn't be here. I can't do this. Right. It's not a conscious thought, but it's the subconscious programming that's leading that behavior and making them feel that way.
What about anxiety or depression? You get that a lot too?
A lot.
Yeah.
And it's, again, when they figure out why the depression or why the anxiety, it's always so revealing. It's always so revealing. Like they remember those things happening in their life, but they never put together that this is why this is happening. So when we can tell the brain, okay, your version of this story is not accurate because it's the version of a child that created a belief system around it. And when we can tell the brain the truth and then bring that to the conscious understanding, then that anxiety releases, the depression releases.
And that wasn't the reason that we did the session with me, but what you just said is what, again, the images, it's not like, and I'm sure it happens for some, but it's not like in the session I had, whereas I didn't remember that happened.
Right.
What? No, that didn't happen to me.
Yeah.
No, I got it. I remember seeing it. I remember it as a kid. I kind of, it was back then. I buried it. I don't need to, what do I need to? And again, not that it was horrible or anything like that. It was just kid situations, but connecting the dots between why you have a belief to those events, that's the game changer right there.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Because you would never think, you're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. You're not going to think something that happened on the playground with kids when you were 10 is impacting your life today. We don't even go there.
No, it doesn't seem reasonable or logical. You're looking for a big, major situation, life change when you were a kid, parents divorce, whatever it is, that can be it, but it can be the little things that pop up that you didn't think made a difference. When's our next session? Not kidding. Got to make an appointment. If somebody wants to connect with you and even just start a conversation to see if it's a right fit, learn more, they just go to your website?
Yes, they can go to my website, raquelrwilliams.com. And that's Raquel, R-A-Q-U. I get people spelling it C-H all the time. So R-A-Q-U-E-L, rwilliams.com. But it's a free consultation. So you can go on there and book time with me and we can just discuss what's happening and see if this is a right avenue for you. Yeah.
I'm going to go on a limb here, and I don't think it's really a limb to say it's probably the right thing, because so many people wait to the last minute. Like it's the last thing they look at. And it should be one of the first things they look at, with therapy and things like that. But until you go in and figure out what's going on, you can go for years of therapy.
Yes.
Not going to make
a difference. And I hear that all the time. I have a couple I'm working with right now because I do a lot of couples marriages, and they had been to a therapist for 2.5 years and they were ready to give up. And now they just told me yesterday, thank you, because I finally we feel like there's actually hope now. Yeah. And that's amazing.
Well, you know what? I think that before anybody gets married, go to freaking hypnotherapy. Seriously.
It should be a prerequisite. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, there's couples counseling now sometimes, and it seems to be a little bit of a norm now, not religious based or anything like that, but, some just choose to, at least get things out of the way. That's great, but you're not, unless you know what you're getting out of the way. It knows all in here, but you gotta, you're the key to opening that up to kind of figure it out.
It does, which is why I call my marriage program Break the Mold.
There you go. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for our session. Very impactful. Pretty amazing. You are.
Thank you. And you're very welcome.
Thank you for being here, and looking forward next time we get together.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it as well.
In session or podcast, whatever that may be.
Book me, Steve.
There you go. Absolutely. All right. Thanks a lot. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.